Before we head into stories in detail, let's start off with a look at this afternoon's headlines.
Operations at hospitals across the island affected. Health trade union strike leaves patients in a daze. Over 300,000 students sit for the advanced level examination. Attorney at law Hijaz Hizbullah ordered to be released on bail after 18 months. One dead after brothers quarrel over a dog.
Starting off with your top story this afternoon, the Court of Appeal ordered for attorney at law Hijaz Hizbullah to be released on bail today.
Attorney at law Hijaz Hizbullah was first arrested on the 14th of April 2020 under the provisions of the Prevention of Terrorism Act on charges of delivering a speech promoting religious extremism at a madrasa in Puttlam. Although counsel representing Hijaz Hizbullah previously requested the High Court to release him on bail, the request was denied. The High Court pointed out that the court did not have jurisdiction to release him under the provisions of the Prevention of Terrorism Act. Counsel for Hijaz Hizbullah had submitted a revision application and it was taken up before a bench comprising of Court of Appeal Justices Menaka Vijayasundara and Neil Iddavala. The Court of Appeal then ordered for attorney at law Hijaz Hizbullah to be released on bail.
Now, medicals at all hospitals and public health inspectors have launched an island-wide strike action from today.
The strike action has been launched based on several demands, including the salary anomaly issue and the failure to properly implement the procedure of promotions, clinical operations, issuing medicine, blood tests and tests for COVID-19 at a number of hospitals across the country will come to a halt owing to the strike action. Patients who arrived at hospitals had no other option but to turn back home as a result of this situation. And medicine was not issued at the Gampaha District Hospital today. According to our correspondent, the clinical operations at the hospital were at a complete standstill. Only the outpatient department at the Anuradhapura Teaching Hospital was in operation today. Director General of the Kandy National Hospital, Dr. Anurajasekara, said that there was a 25% drop in the medical staff at the hospital and that only emergency treatments were carried out at the hospital today. The Director General of the Peradeniya Teaching Hospital said that about 90% of the medical staff were absent at the hospital today. Patients who arrived at the Polonnaru General Hospital from several areas, including Dimbulagala and Aralaganvila, were not able to receive any treatment as the medical staff at the hospital did not report to work. Operations at the National Eye Hospital were hampered as well due to the strike action. Our correspondent said that selected clinical operations are underway at the National Hospital, although the strike action is currently in place. However, the National Hospital directed patients to the State Pharmaceutical Corporation as they did not issue medicine to the public. This situation has resulted after all our efforts to win this battle were proven futile. Therefore, we ask the authorities to involve in this matter at least now and provide solutions to this matter through discussions.
Deputy Director General of Health Services says the capacity at hospitals are declining as a result of an increase in COVID-19 patients.
The number of infected patients has doubled compared to the last few weeks. Space for COVID-19 patients is being allocated at our wards. About 6,000 beds for COVID-19 patients are being occupied at present. We plan to allocate about 14,000 more beds. 70 intensive care unit beds have been set up for COVID-19 patients as well. As reported yesterday, 59 are in use. The increase in the number of COVID-19 patients is going to be a challenge for us in the future. Therefore, it is important that everyone supports the efforts to reduce the spread of this virus in the country. Meanwhile, management officials and 12 trade unions engaged in a protest in Kandy today. The protesters cited 4 demands, including the payment of their salaries. It is clear that our requests are falling on deaf ears. Our main 4 demands are on salary payments. There is a proposed salary from the Ministry of State Administration. Our demands are based on that proposed salary. An open test was scheduled to be conducted to recruit employees on the 30th of last month, but that was delayed without citing any reasons. There was a stable procedure of promotions, but that was removed, and they started promoting employees once every 10 years. Skilled employees are being put down, and they are not given a helping hand to come up in the ranks.
Still in local news, the 2021 GCE Advanced Level Examination began today. The examination is being held at 2,438 examination centres across the island.
A total of 345,242 candidates are sitting for the exams this year. 279,141 candidates are school applicants, while 66,101 are private applicants. The examination will conclude on the 5th of March. Commissioner General of Examinations LMD Dharmasena said 29 special examination centres dedicated to COVID-19 infected candidates have been set up at hospitals and COVID-19 intermediate care centres in accordance with the relevant health guidelines. He further noted general rules and regulations are in effect at all the examination centres. The Ministry of Education also says that all government and government-approved private schools will be closed from today until the 7th of March.
Up next is Crime Watch.
Crime Watch.
A quarrel between 2 brothers over a dog resulted in one of the brothers being murdered by the other. Incident occurred in Mulladiyavala in Panamura. The dog belonging to the older brother had bitten the children of the younger brother. The older brother had an altercation with the mother of the children and had later attacked her with an axe and a sickle. The woman's husband had then murdered his older brother in a fit of rage. The injured woman has been admitted to the Amblypitiya hospital for treatment. The younger brother has been arrested for the murder of his older brother.
Crime Watch.
In more news here at home, Samagi Janabalavegya alleges the behavior of the finance minister is also a reason for the economic downfall of the country.
There is a finance minister who supposedly has 7 brains. In this country, there were reputed finance ministers such as Professor N.M. Pereira and Professor Ronnie Dimel, and they worked hard to uplift the economy in the country. However, in 2005, when Mahinda Rajapaksa took over, he became the Minister of Finance. Everyone knows about his educational qualification. In 2007, he decided to buy sovereign bonds. Right now, our foreign debt is about $50 billion. The main reason was the lack of knowledge of the finance ministers. Now, since 2020, Basil Rajapaksa is the Minister of Finance. Everyone knows about his educational qualification as well. These people implement certain recommendations without knowing if they are right or wrong. These people cannot identify and call out the wrong decisions. Even though he has 7 brains, the people of this country are now experiencing the real result.
There are queues. Now there are no gas explosions. We are trying to identify how come gas explosions took place for a short period. That is one game. When there is a queue being created, I told them to come and I'll show you a queue at Port City. 28,000 people a day. You should ask them there. Did you eat? Are you feeling okay? But no one asks that. However, if someone is in the gas queue, they ask that. And that person will surely blame authorities.
Moving on, the court has ordered for statements to be recorded from the 21 Indian fishermen who were arrested recently. The Indian fishermen who were arrested for encroaching into the sea of Sri Lanka recently were produced before the Point Pedro Magistrates Court. Now, the Department of Fisheries informed the courts that approval must be granted by the courts to obtain statements from the fishermen in order to file charge sheets. The magistrate, after reviewing the request, provided approval to obtain statements from the 21 Indian fishermen. Now, the Department of Fisheries also requested approval to sell the stocks of fish found on board the seized vessels. It was also confirmed that one of the fishermen was infected with COVID-19. The 21 fishermen were detained by local fishermen on the 1st of this month and were later handed over to the Sri Lanka Navy. Taking a look at some news overseas, U.S. officials say Russia has assembled about 70% of the military capability needed for a full-scale invasion of Ukraine in the coming weeks. The ground is expected to freeze and harden from mid-February, enabling Moscow to bring in more heavy equipment. Russia is said to have more than 100,000 troops near Ukraine's borders, but denies planning to attack. The U.S. officials did not provide evidence for their assessment. U.S. media reports they said the information was based on intelligence, but that they were unable to give details due to its sensitivity. The officials also said they did not know if Russian President Vladimir Putin had decided to take such a step, adding that a diplomatic solution was still possible. Speaking on condition of anonymity, two U.S. officials told foreign media that weather conditions would provide a peak window for Russia to move equipment forward between about 15th of February and the end of March. According to reports, the officials warned that a Russian invasion of Ukraine could cause as many as 50,000 civilian deaths. They also estimated that an attack could see the Ukrainian capital fall within days and prompt a refugee crisis in Europe as millions of people flee. Tunisian President Kais Saied has dissolved a judicial council that deals with the independence of judges. Saied, who had dismissed the government and suspended parliament last July, said yesterday that the Supreme Judicial Council was a thing of the past. He also accused council members of taking billions in bribes and delaying politically sensitive investigations, including into the assassinations of left-wing activists in 2013. His decision raises fears about the independence of the judiciary and caps months of his sharp criticism of Tunisia's judges. Youssef Bouzakar, head of the Supreme Judicial Council, said Said's declaration represented an attempt to bring judges under presidential instruction. He told foreign media the president's decision is illegal and a direct assimilation of the presidency. Last month, the president revoked all financial privileges for members of the top judicial council, which was formed in 2016 and tasked with ensuring the independence of the judiciary, disciplining judges and granting them professional promotions. Still in international news, a Chinese city of 3.5 million near the border with Vietnam was on lockdown today after more than 70 coronavirus cases were discovered there over the past 3 days. China, the only major world economy still sticking to a staunch zero-COVID policy, is on high alert for any outbreaks as it hosts the Beijing Winter Olympics. Local officials in the city of Baize in the southern Guangxi region announced yesterday that no one would be allowed to leave the city, while residents of some districts would be confined to their homes. Vice Mayor Gu Junyang told a briefing, quote-unquote, citywide traffic controls will be implemented. In principle, vehicles and people cannot enter or leave the city, with personal control strictly enforced and no unnecessary movement of people. He added residents of some neighborhoods in smaller rural cities and counties under Baize's jurisdiction have been placed under strict home confinement, while others cannot leave their district. In some tragic news overseas, at least 10 people have been killed and nearly 50,000 displaced after cyclone Batsirai brought strong winds and rain to Madagascar. Batsirai, the second major storm in 2 weeks, made landfall on the east coast with gusts of 235 kilometers per hour and high waves hitting coastal areas. Whole villages are reported to be almost completely destroyed. According to the National Weather Service, the cyclone has now weakened. Madagascar was already reeling from Tropical Storm Anna, which killed 55 people when it hit the Indian Ocean island nation last month. Cyclone Batsirai has compounded the destruction, making landfall near the southeastern city of Manandiri, 530 kilometers from the capital, at around 8 p.m. local time on Saturday. In sports news, week 3 of the A Division Interclub Rugby League 2022 concluded yesterday as Havelock Sports Club clinched victory over Sri Lanka Air Force. The match was played at the Havelock Park in Colombo under lights.
At the end of the first half, Havis led the score by 19 to 15. Full conversion at the 55th minute. Havis were trailing by 3 points just before the full time. However, a try by Vimukti Rahula at the 75th minute, successfully converted by Sandesh Jayavikrama, sealed the game for the Havis. The final score read 26 to 22 in favour of the Havis.
Taking a look back at your local news, agrarian movements are saying that the government is attempting to make the public believe that it is cheaper to import rice from abroad than manufacture it in Sri Lanka.
They claim to empower farmers, but they undercut farmers and ruin the country's food supply. Stop this at once. The Minister of Trade, Bandula Gunawardena, and the Minister of Agriculture, Mahindananda Ludgamage, are attempting to make the public believe that this is cheaper, that it is cheaper to import rice from abroad than manufacture it in Sri Lanka. That is what has happened to the rice industry. The biggest issue we are facing is that the farmers' economy is collapsing. We are about to lose our livelihoods. We can only cultivate about 40 bushels of paddy per acre. We can get a maximum of 50 bushels. Therefore, the current price of paddy is not a justifiable amount. The government can't get away with this. They must pay farmers a minimum of 100,000 as compensation. If not, farmers cannot survive till the yellow season. What the government is doing is that they import rice from abroad and they get their commissions tenfold. This is a business transaction.
Now, the Ceylon Electricity Board Joint Trade Union Alliance says that the increase in fuel prices only by Lanka IOC are signs of an influence of an adverse deal made to the detriment of the country.
The government is saying that we will receive rain in the month of April and that we can fill up our reservoirs by then, while saying that they are planning on purchasing 300 megawatts for a 3-year period from private power plants. The government has now reached the pinnacle in this crisis. The CEB will have to bear an expense of 95 billion rupees if they purchase power from the private sector. This government will not enter into any agreements that are advantageous to the country. These are all signs. First, the IOC will increase their prices. Then the CPC will say that they are not going to increase the prices. But eventually the CPC will increase their prices as well. And then the price of electricity will also be increased. The situation is such that the people's burden will be increased even more. Meanwhile, the Petroleum, Ports and Electricity Samagi Trade Union Alliance spoke about the sudden increase in fuel prices. What happened last night was the result of the Minister of Energy going to India on the 6th of January and handing over the oil tanks to India and giving them the power to decide on the price of fuel and authority in the country. As a responsible trade union, we pointed out that the minister signing the agreement to hand over the Trincomalee oil tanks, with the Ceylon Electricity Board requesting to purchase fuel from the Indian Oil Corporation, the prices of power will also be determined by the Indian company. We will also lose our power plants. This is only the first phase and it confirms this fact 100%. In the past, when the Indian Oil Corporation decided to increase fuel prices on 3 occasions, the minister said, "No, we have not decided to increase prices yet." And we have not even thought about that.
හැබැයි මේ බලශක්ති ඇමති කියන කිසි දෙයක් ජනතාව පිළිගන්නෙත් නැහැ.
The Minister of Energy says one thing and the Minister of Power says something else. They say that they can supply power tomorrow if they receive fuel today. There is no stability to resolve this problem. The general public is in constant fear that they will have to live in darkness. The government has not been able to instill faith in the people. Our country has fallen to an abyss thanks to the wrong economic policies brought forward by this government.
ආර්ථික ප්‍රතිපත්තිය තුල රට වැටෙන්න ඕන අන්තිම මර ඇඳට දැන් වැටලා තියෙන්නේ.
And with that, it's a wrap of Lunchtime News here on TV1. For the News First team, I've been Newsfirst.lk. Take care and good day.